Hello, hello. How are y'all doing today? Alright. If I can keep things in my mouth. Welcome, David, Rochelle, Peter, Bob. Welcome, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well. And hopefully everything goes well with the stream tonight. And that was a Dr. Pepper there. Thanks to old, I believe it was Rick Roy. It didn't have a from message on it, but for my birthday I got 2 12-packs of Dr. Pepper. So, and thank you for that if Rick comes into the class tonight. Thank you. If it did come from Rick, because there was no from on there, but I believe it was from him. I hope y'all are doing well tonight. Tonight we're going to be creating a design, and we're going to talk about combining 2D, 2.5D items in the design. We're going to talk about 3D, and then we're going to talk about the differences between those. But we're also, going to be exploring the new features in the Vectric software. And the changes in Pro and Aspire and VCar Pro or desktop. Now, unfortunately, I did not update. I thought I did, but I did not update my desktop or Pro. I only updated my Aspire, so I'm going to be working in Aspire this evening. But the things I talk about and the changes and stuff are applicable to all three of the platforms. And then if there's something that is Aspire specific, then I will I'll basically touch on that or let you know. Yeah, Peter, I'm glad I survived my 25th birthday as well. I don't know how I stay so young over the years. Oh man, I've been carving like crazy trying to get ready for the Vectric show. This coming up here in a couple of weeks, and I've got to get some items shipped up to Digital Woodcarver for that show because I'll be flying up and I won't be able to take the tables and stuff with me, but hopefully I'll be able to get them shipped up. But it's been around the clock, so I'm dragging a little butt today. Alright, let's see here if we can get into this. Start here. Now, let me know how the video goes as far as buffering or anything like that, audio and things. If I hope, because normally when I use Aspire, I tend to get some buffering because Aspire's got, it uses a lot of the CPU and things. But I think with the way I've changed my platform and stuff, we should be good for the most part. Tonight we're going to be kind of walking through a single-sided job, and I'm going to try to incorporate the discussion with the designing, and then we're going to talk about specific changes and things in 9.5 and what we can do. Also, with that being said, we now that we have the latest versions of TNG out there, and with V9.5 and stuff, there's going to be some new post processors coming you guys' way. One is our regular post processor for flat carvings and stuff, with the inclusion of arcs, helical arcs, with regards to ramping, and then just arc motion. What this is going to do is, one, it's going to shorten the length of G-code, of the amount of lines that a design creates when creating the G-code, thanks to the ramps movements versus incremental, and thanks to the new post processor. This will ultimately shorten the run times and stuff on a lot of jobs. With regards to the rotary option that's now available in the Vectric 9.5, the rotary has the ability to work with G93, which is a time latency, a time insertion. Basically, what it does is it keeps the same feed rate, a consistent feed rate for the design versus slowing down and speeding up and everything, which allows for a more consistent and clean cut. Now, I'm in the process of writing that post processor and testing it. The post processor for the arcs is done. Burl's in the process. He's going to be testing that here shortly once I get the final okay, because my tests were all well and good. But we go through a process where I will test something and then Burl will test it. If everything is fine, then we will release it to you all, and then we'll get everything released out. Now, with regards to the fourth axis and the rotary, the new post processor, this is going to take a little bit of time. I'm in the process of writing it, and I need to make sure that it's going to do everything that will work properly with our fourth axis, but also work well with the what the new 9.5 offers us and things. And once I have that post processor nailed down, I will release it out to you. I know someone, I forget who it was in the group, someone asked if we would have that post processor available soon, and yes, I'm working on it diligently. Once I get everything written with the post processor and get it fully vetted, basically, I will then provide that to you. And for those of you that are in the Digital Woodcarver Owners Facebook group, I will be posting those files in the Facebook group for you. If you do not do Facebook and you only watch on here through YouTube and stuff, and you're not in the Facebook group, I highly encourage you to get into the group, because it's where we share a lot of files and things and updates and stuff like that. But that being said, if you are adamant that you do not want to do Facebook for your own privacy or personal reasons or this or that, that's fine. You will have to email me and let me know that you don't participate in the Facebook group, but you would like to be able to receive the updates when they're available. That way I can put you on our list of direct email, because you don't go into the group and you can't download files and things like that. But I really encourage you guys to, if you're not in the group, get in it. There's a whole wealth of knowledge in there. Wonderful people, all of our customers, very eager to answer questions when y'all have them and things, and jump in and help out where they can, sharing tips, tricks, ideas, collaborations, just showing project photos, and of course, when things go right, when things go wrong, and everybody has those moments where things go right and things go wrong, and you want to be able to ask the question, what made it do this, what made it do that, and see if anyone else has run into that problem, or see if we can obtain those answers and things, which everybody's wonderful about, jumping in and answering those kind of questions. All right. So as far as update news, that's really it. The new regular post of Digital Woodcarver Inch Tap Post Processor update will be released, I want to say, within a week. Just got to wait for Burl to test it. He's unavailable right now for testing and stuff. And then when I get the rotary post processor, the new rotary post processor done, I will get that out to you guys too, and I'm going to try to get that done as quickly as possible. But there's a lot of settings and code writing and stuff to so this post processor performs properly the way it should. So bear with me on that one. All right, so for our design tonight that we're going to be doing, we're going to be combining some 2D and 2.5D and 3D elements, and we're going to talk about those differences and stuff. But I'm going to be working with a single-sided job for this, and I'm going to be working with a 20-inch by 10-inch board, and it's going to be 3/4 of an inch thick. I am going to be touching off on the machine bed because I'm going to be using my wedge jig, and I touch off on the surface of that jig, and so that's the bottom of my material. So that's my machine bed of reference. And I will be using the XY datum position, one because I'm using the jig, and I'll also be using my DWC quickset tool to set up. So this will be my setup here for the job, and I'm going to be in a very high resolution, and I'm going to click OK, and that'll get us started. Now, one of the things that I'd like to do with this is I'm going to draw a rectangle here, and the rectangle I'm just snapping using the smart snapping options, just snapping to the corner and dragging it out to the other corner to draw a rectangle here. And then I'm going to offset from it. I'm going to keep my original border here. Usually I delete it for one reason or another, but I'm going to keep it here. But I'm going to offset inward to create a kind of a boundary or a border. So I'm going to use the offset tool, and I'm going to offset inward. I believe I want to go 1 inch. I want sharp corners, and I'm going to not delete the original this time. I'm going to just offset inward here. All right. And then oops, I hit the offset button. I want to close that. And then I'm going to go back into my rectangle tool, and I'm going to snap to this inside corner, and I'm going to create a rectangle in here, inside there, and that'll be good for right now until I get everything. Now, one of the wonderful things about and again, I'm going to try to incorporate some of the new changes and stuff as we're going through the design and all, but one of the new cool things with V9.5 is the text editor. Before, notice how this box pops up on the screen here, and we have our box up here. Notice there's no apply button in the new text editor in 9.5, because as I let's see here, start typing, you will see it show up on the screen. It's not only going to show up in here in the box, but you'll see it actually showing up on the screen as I start typing and all. And you know, that's going to be one of the changes. We'll talk about that in a moment as how that affects us and stuff. So let's go in here and let's see. I think I want all capitals. And I want to go bold with this, and I want to go with a what do I want to go with? 1.5 inches. Let me see what that does for me. Let's get it centered. Notice those changes automatically as we, you know, as I'm typing in here. Everything is showing up automatically. So the changes I make, there's no more having to hit the apply. As soon as I adjust the change and stuff, it's instantaneous. Love that. Love that change. For this, that will be good. The 1.5 inches will be fine. Now, one of the major changes is, I'm going to break this into 2 individual lines for a moment, is before, when we would do text editing, and in this case I'm going to edit my spacing. I'm going to hold my shift key down and space my ridge manner apart. I believe let's see here, that looks a little far. That looks good. I just didn't want everything overlapping. But let's imagine that I came in and I curved this text, which I'm not going to do for this design, but let's imagine that I did. And let's say that, oh, you know what, I want to change the font, or I want to change the text and all. Well, before, when we would go in to edit our text and stuff, once we clicked apply, the text would go back to its normal default format. All the spacing that we did and all the curving that we did would have to be redone, requiring us to redo all of that editing. And that was sometimes a pain in the butt, especially if we did some nice curving, you know, on a banner or something, and then all of a sudden we realize that, you know, we want to change our font, or we want to change our text style, or our spacing, or our curvature, the way it sweeps around the banner, whatever that formatting would have been. Well, if we had to make any change, all that formatting was out the window. We were right back to square one, and then we would have to do it all over again. Well, what I love about this is not only are the changes instantaneous, we no longer have to apply, but if for whatever reason I needed to make a change, that change would be instantaneous. It keeps the formatting, it keeps the curvature, it keeps the spacing, it keeps everything that we had, and that is a game changer when it comes to text editing and our process and stuff, because before it was a little inconvenient that it would kind of take all that stuff away and we'd have to redo it again, and all. So I really love that fact. Now, that being said, I'm gonna take away this here, and I'll keep it as Rocky. That'll be fine. We'll go with the Rocky manner. In. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get out of my text editor tool, and I'm going to take my text and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make, oh, what do I want to make? I want to make it bigger. So let's stretch this out a bit. I'm going to hold down my shift key, kind of stretch that out a bit. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to have this rectangle, I'd like to have it follow the form. I want that kind of that ridge outline of the letters and things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the word Rocky be my boundary. And so I'm going to select my rectangle that I want to edit. And then I'm going to hold down my shift key and select my boundary, Rocky here. And what I want to do is I want to trim. And I'm going to trim, and I want to clear everything inside of the boundary away. So what that's going to do for me when I clear that is it's going to redraw this line outlining my letters and everything. So if I were to take Rocky right now and move it out of the way, you can see that I have that outline there. And that's what I want. Let's get back to where I was here. All right. Now, from there, I'm going to take and I'm going to offset this basically inward. I'm going to pull it away a little bit more, away from the letters. I don't want to be right up on the letters like I am. So I'm going to offset that rectangle. I'm going to go inward probably a good 1/4 of an inch to... let's back it off a little bit. Let's see here. Let's go a good 1/8 of an inch. Let's see here. I don't want sharp corners. All right, yep, that'll be fine. All right. Now, I want to take the edges here and I want to bring them back to this outer line here. But if I do that, if I hold down my shift key and I do that, I'm going to end up stretching those letters, you know, and I don't want to do that. What I need to do is I need to go into node editing mode, and I need to cut my vectors. So basically, I'm going to do it the easy way. I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete this span here. I'm going to right click and delete this span here, and I'm going to bring this span up inside my boundary. Hold down my control key so I can get that micro movement, and I'm going to stretch it out holding my shift key down. Oops. Let's try that again. Okay. And then I'm going to do a line. I'm going to snap to this corner and snap to this corner and spacebar to finish. I'm going to snap to this, spacebar and finish. And then I'm going to use my extend tool. And let me get rid of, so it's not confusing you guys, let me get rid of this border for a moment so you can see what's going on here. I'm going to get rid of that lower border and all. And what I'm going to do is, and let's get rid of this one so you can see what's happening here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this line over and this line over as well. So my extend tool, if I come over here and click here and here, that'll extend that line. If I come over here, click on this line and then this line, it'll extend that to there. And then ultimately I can come in and I've got a little bit of excess here to trim away. I believe I'm good on that corner. I should be, oh, I got a little overhang there. Notice I didn't extend right up to that, so let's go ahead and extend that up and then trim away that excess. And one more little trim down there. Now, I don't need these outlines that when I created that offset, the outlines in the middle, the letters here, I don't need them there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete them out. We'll get rid of all of those. And I shouldn't have any other outlines, just my one main border all the way around now. All right. So we've got that, and now the reason why I'm doing this is because within this area here, I'm going to be pocketing this in. I'm going to be putting some 3D images up here and stuff, and this is going to be a V-carve in a sense, or I may decide to do a raised V-carve or something. But I want some 3D models to go up in here, so I'm kind of basically creating a boundary where they're going to go. And one of those models is actually going to be overlapping not only in the 3D area that I'm creating here, but also on top of my 2D area. And I haven't picked out the models yet. This is all on the fly. I know the design or what I want to do, but this will be the first go around. I wasn't sitting here practicing this, so you're kind of watching as I go, and we're doing it together. All right, so with that, I'm going to go into my modeling options. Now, this is going to apply, not modeling, sorry, clip art options. Now, this is going to apply to VCarve, Desktop Pro, or Aspire because you all have clip art. You can bring that clip art in, wherever, whatever clip art and all you have, you're able to bring in your models if you purchase them and things. So you'll have all of those options and stuff. I'm going to bring in this guy here, and let's have him kind of in here. And if we split our view, you can see, I've got my model here and stuff. Now I'm going to have to make the model a little bit bigger in order to, when I put my other models in this area and stuff, but or higher, the model Z height, how thick that model is, I'll have to extrude it out a little bit. But for right now, we'll go there. And let's go back into full view. We don't need to see the 2D view just yet. Now, I want kind of a wildlife scene in a sense here. And I'd like to incorporate a couple of things. Let's see. Now it comes down to the decision making as far as what elements I want in here. Let's kind of pull this up. Let me get him sized down properly, and then let me grab this little guy here. And I want some little critters running around on the ground, so let's what do we have for critters? I got a rabbit. And now let's go into some plants, and let's see if I can I need to keep this size proportionally. The deer shouldn't be as big as the trees, kind of deal. Do I even want a tree? I do want a tree, but alright, let's put a tree in there. Let's say the tree is off into the distance. Actually, let me get rid of that one and let me bring these guys in. Oh, let's put them. Let's grab all of these. Alright, let's look and see what I've got going on here. I don't know, the trees are a little out of place. I don't know, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Let's see what we got here. The rabbit's out of place, I know that. That's alright. That'll work. Okay, so now on these models, that'll be fine for now. Play around with a little bit. I don't have the wildlife collection. One of these days I'll buy the wildlife collection from Design and Make, but I haven't done that yet. For a nice background mountain scene and things like that. But on my notice here on my deer, the way they blend and merge together is incorrect. So what I need to do is my fawn, I want him in front. So I need to bring him forward a bit. But right now he's in an add mode, so he's actually taking on the hips and the leg shape and everything of the deer behind him. So I need to really merge the two. So I'll change the combine mode to merge. And the same thing with this deer here. We'll change the combine mode to merge. And now I need to bring the that's kind of an inappropriate picture. Let's get that little fun. Let's give it a little bit of a shape height and some tilting. So I want to give it not necessarily shape height, but more so a little bit of base height. So I'm going to go with a little 1/8 of an inch, too many decimal points, of base material behind it. There we go. That'll bring it in front. And I'm actually going to reduce that down some. I'm going to go 0.08. And then I'm going to do some tilting. So the tilt, when I set the tilt and everything, it will allow me to tilt him one direction or another based on a set of degrees. And it's based on where we draw our line, our angle of tilt and things. And so I went from the front and back, and you can see his ass end is rolling up, and that's not what I want. So I need to undo the set. So if I come into, or the tilt here, if I come into this, I need to start from the back end and come forward. And now as I set the degree of angle, the head and everything will kind of come forward. And that was a little bit too much, 3.8 degrees. We'll back it off just a little bit. I want the shape right here, the top part, and all to be kind of resting right on the body. So let's kick it down a few degrees. Oops. I'll do that. And let's look at this straight on. There we go. All right. So by blending the two together, we merged them together. We gave a little bit of base height to the front object so it kind of protrudes beyond the model that's behind it. And then we gave it a little bit of a tilt so that the front end comes out more so than the back end. And by doing that, we're able to get that nice blend and all. My rabbit is still somewhat out of place, but that's all right. He'll be fine. All right. Now, the models, those models, they're going to be positioned in that pocket area. That pocket area is going to be recessed back. So what I need to do is all of those models and everything, I'm going to put them on a different level. And so I'm going to go ahead and insert a new level. And I'm going to take my deer, my fawn, rabbit, and fir tree. I'm going to throw them up on another level. All right, let's get in here and all right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and start kind of creating some toolpaths. Now, let's say that one of the things that I wanted to be able to show you, and I'll show you as we go into this design and stuff, one of the new tools it's available to us is our picture editor and our picture crop, our bitmap cropper and things. This is pretty awesome that we can now be selective with the images that we use. And so, yeah, it must be a Cadbury egg rabbit. There you go. That's one plump rabbit. Yeah, he's definitely fat. But we can now be selective of the vectors and stuff we use. We can kind of crop our images and things, and we can edit our images and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to Google, and I'm going to grab an image, And for those of you who have never searched for images on Google yet or things like that, we're going to go ahead and Google is your best friend when you're searching for images. And I used to have a nice collection of images and things, but when my computer crashed, I lost all of them all. So, all right. Okay. So I just found a picture that I liked. I'm going to now import it in. And on the image, I'm going to come up here so you guys can see it a bit. I'm going to just grab an ellipse here. Oops, not two, just one. And I'm going to draw a vector around this because what I want to do is I'm going to select my image. I'm going to select that oval. I'm going to come into my crop bitmap and I'm going to get rid of everything outside of that image. That's all. This is all I want to focus on. These here. And now that I've done that, I can eliminate this, and now I can come in and do my bitmap tracing. I love that new function and feature for being able to quickly crop down to just what I want out of the image and be done with it. So that is one of the newer things. You have a crop tool, and now you also have an image editor where we can grayscale things, we can invert our colors, we can adjust contrasting to get a better trace quality, brightness and gamma and things. So we can even add a border around the image, and really just some nice stuff for tracing and all. Alright, so with this, let's see here. Alright, let's bring Alright, I want to get ungroup this so I can grab those things there and delete them. I've got a little bit of, and by the way, all of these little pixels here, you know, I tend to go through and, you know, just select and delete them. However, if I were to undo everything that I just did, and I came back into my trace, I could have saved myself some time in my trace tool. I could have saved myself some time by turning up my noise filter. With the noise filter and all, it will ignore those items. And so
If I come in, all of that stuff that I was sitting there trying to delete, they're not there. They're no longer there anymore. There's no more noise. So using the noise filter saved me a lot of time and having to clean up the bitmap. Alright, let's get things back where we were. Okay, so now we've got a decent kind of design of some 3D, some 2D. We've got a nice little mix and match and mesh. We're going to have a pocket cut, in this back area here. This is going to be kind of recessed back. Our models and things are going to be in that pocket area and all. And we have one of our models is actually going to be kind of a combination of in the area and on the outside and all. So let's look at how we would deal with this. The first thing that we need to do is let's look at our material setup over here and let's see what we've got. And now my model position in the material. These are my models here. They're probably about a thickness of 0.23937 at the highest point of the selected models and everything. Well, I want them at the top in a sense, but I'm going to have them kind of carving back a bit. Now, because this model is kind of on top of everything, I need to really be, mindful of that as well. I don't want, all of that wood to have to get milled down, even over here. So I'm going to actually bring the model all the way to the top. I am going to give it about a 10,000ths of an inch little relief there to kind of start milling down. And I'm going to click OK. And now I need to go back over to my modeling tools and I need to create, if I select all of my models, I need to create a vector boundary around them. Create that boundary around those selected vectors, those outlines and all, because I need to be able to use them as my modeling boundaries. I'm not going to sit there and let my 3D cut go all, have to mill all this stuff away. I want to kind of focus on just the model areas. I'm going to let my 2D toolpath cut my pocket out. And so let's go ahead and let's talking about that. Let's create that cut. Now in my material setup, my model Z plane is 0.4463. That's my magic number. That's what my pocket cut needs to be, 0.4463. So with this selected, I'm going to also select the boundaries that I created. And I'm going to create a pocket cut that is 0.4463. Too many decimal points. Get rid of that one. And calculate that cut. Alright, let's undo that because my two vectors overlap one another. Therefore, they've got to be trimmed together. And so, let's go in here and do some trimming real quick. I'm going to use my scissor tool and let me think here. Do I want to... Yep. I'm just going to... What do I want to do? I'm going to use the duck as as the boundary by selecting it last. That's what I've done. And so if I come in again and trim, clearing inside of the boundary, it will redraw that border. And it went the long way, and that's fine. That's good. I don't mind. It redrew a few borders here and everything. So, not a problem with that. Alright, let's get back to where we were now. Come back over here. I want to select my boundaries. All of that. This, that, and all this inside stuff. Alright, so this is going to be a pocket cut, and of course, always open your tool first. Bam, 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 inside the deer. Okay, 0.4463, I'm going to use a small end mill, half-inch end mill for this, or eighth-inch, sorry, not half-inch, I don't know what the heck I was thinking. Eighth-inch end mill. I'm going to do an offset cut, that'll be fine for speed and things, and I'm going to calculate that toolpath. And now if I preview that selected toolpath, it should do a fairly decent job of flattening all that area out. Okay. And I'm going to do my 3D rough cut. Let's go ahead and once again I'm going to select my boundaries. I believe I have everything selected. And on this rough cut, I'm going to use I'm going to use an 1/8 inch end mill because I'm only carving around the trees and things. So I'm going to use my same 1/8 inch end mill, so I really don't have to change tools. But I am going to use the selected vectors as the boundary. I'm going to let it go past the boundary by about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to let my bit go beyond the boundary line by 1/8 of an inch, 1 full diameter of the bit. I'm going to raster along my x-axis, and that should be good. Bear with me a second. It's greater than 20% of the tool diameter. Alright, so let's go, it's saying all I need to do is go at least 20% of, the tool diameter, so I don't have to, go the full diameter. It's saying just I need to be 20% or lower. So let's go. And that's should be 0.2, not 0.2. Let's try that one more time. 0.125 times 0.2 equals. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. I'll let it go that much beyond. Alright, let's go ahead and calculate that. Come on now. The allowance left on I was changing the wrong thing. I want this to be here. This is what I need to be 0.02. My allowance. Alright. My allowance was more than 20% and on the material, so I needed to change that. Not my offset. So, alright, let's preview that selected toolpath. Don't do what I just did. How funny is that? When I selected my vectors, I forgot a very crucial one. That one. So let's do that one more time. How silly was that? Let's go back in here. Forgot the most important vector of them all. Alright, so let's go in and let's calculate that one more time. And let's reset that preview. We're going to preview all the toolpaths, let that pocket cut do its thing. Now what in the world are you doing there, Junior? Alright, I'm going to stop that. That's not what I want. What am I got selected backwards? I got something backwards. Let's see here. Bear with me. 3D rough cut. Selected vectors as the boundary. Selected vector is the boundary. I'll tell you what, make it simple on myself. I'll just use the model as the boundary. Alright. Let me look and see what is happening to myself. Do I have something turned off that shouldn't be turned off? All of those are on. We're going to calculate a finish cut. I need to see exactly where this is cutting. It should only be cutting down to 0.44 23, I think it was, or 46. Let me see where it's actually cutting to. Bear with me a moment. That's what the problem is. Something happened in my job setup and it moved the models way down into the pocket. Is not, they're supposed to be down in the pocket, but not that far. So let's go back to the job setup right there. That's the problem. So when I was making changes, my model went back to the bottom of the material and totally screwed everything up. So usually when there's something going wrong, there's something wrong. Something has changed. Something is incorrect. So now we should be fine. I was wondering, everything was going crazy. I was like, what in the world was all that about? And it was throwing me off. Yeah, and as far as missing the bottom left corner, Dave, I don't need, when I'm doing the model, the boundaries and things for the 3D model, I don't need the bottom left corner for that unless I miss it on my actual pocket cut. The pocket cut, if I preview, let's reset this preview, we should look a little bit more normal now if I preview that pocket cut. Okay, if I come in, there should be still a light amount of 3D rough cutting. So if I preview that, there should be just a small amount of that. And then my 3D finish should come in and finish. Okay. Now, on these models, around the perimeter and everything, I've got more depth in my pocket than my actual models, and I can tell that by this lip here, which, let's look at the Model Z plane, 0.5199. Let me see what my Model Z plane should be there. Getting all confused. 2937. Sorry, guys. Okay. Let's try that one more time. Pocket cut. Should be 2937. 0.2937. And that's throwing me off because normally it's the Z plane of the model. So let's reset that and let's preview all the toolpaths one more time, and let's see if I'm getting 0.4563. .5392. I got to remember that I'm working off the bottom of my material. So therefore I've got to do four, 5437, 5437. Okay, 5437. 0.75 minus 0.5437 equals 0.20. There we go. My pocket was a little beyond what it should be. And it's because I'm working off the bottom of my material, and I had my numbers backward. I had to do a little bit of different math. So my model should be the same as the pocket cut now. The level should be the same. go, you little bastard. Give me a moment, guys and girls. I'm having all kinds of backup difficulty. Let's see here. 0.25, calculate. What in the world am I thinking? You're hearing a brief silence because I've actually stumped myself. Give me a second here. This is 0.5, 0.5437. Ha! Okay, sorry guys and girls, I stumped myself on that one. Alright, so my pocket is a little high. Let's go back into our preview. And if we look at where the model's cut and everything versus where my pocket cut, I've got this lip here. This lip is where, you know, everything is going to be. That allowance, that 1/8 of an inch allowance and everything is what threw me off. So what I need to do is get rid of that allowance there, and then this will be my rough cut. This will be my finish cut. Beautiful. And my 0.5603, 0.5687, 0.5608, 5603. Excuse me. All right. Let's see how bad I screwed this up. For some reason, it's not cutting my pocket. Now, what do I got selected that I shouldn't have selected? That. All of the tree except for the tree. Alright. What the frick, Chuck? Why are you causing me such confusion? Wonder if I found a glitch. Found something. Bear with me a second. I got some overlap. There we go. I had some overlapping lines, and therefore it wasn't calculating the entire toolpath. Had me thrown there for a minute. I'm like, okay, what's the deal? What's going on? And that's exactly what it was. All right, man, I had me puzzled bigger than anything. Now, what I want to do is before I preview that toolpath, I'm going to recalculate it here because I want to make two changes. I want to go into node editing. I want to cut the vector here, cut it here, and cut it down here. I want to take this and I want to move it up off of my antlers a little bit. I want to take this and move it up off my tree a little bit. And then I want to join those back together. Oops. Extend tool. Put that corner back on. I should have a fully verged connect. All right. My goodness, guys. All that mess for one thing. Okay. One open vector was identified. Let's go in and close that. Okay. Alright, now I should have the proper depth for my pocket. My models, things shouldn't be screwed up. Had a little bit of a overlapping line. I'm still a little off on my depth. Let's see what I need to get down to. I'm sitting at 0.5063, 0.51. Remember, I'm working down from 3/4, so the top of my board is 3/4, not 7, not 0. So I'm working backwards. The top of my board is 3/4, so I'm working down. So 5603, 5, 4, 5, 2, and all that's lower. That's a lower number, and everything. And so I'm going to just bring my mouse right into this plump little rabbit down here, 4465. And if I look at my Z-plane, now I should be correct. My Z-plane, 4463. That should be my magic number. And that is what it needs to be. So what I need to do is I need to get to 0.4463. And in order to do that, I have to find out what my depth of cut is by coming in here. And I need to go into this, and 0.75 minus 0.4463 equals, that's my depth of cut that I need to be cutting. And if I calculate this, I should be at 0.4463. Now my trees are looking a little foobard. And the reason why they're looking a little foobard is my 1/8 inch end mill here, my pocket cut and stuff, my modeling cut, should I say. I do need to let that 3D finish go beyond. I had everything set up right. It was just the overlapping lines threw everything off. So I need to let that 1/8 inch or my finish bit go beyond my boundaries. Go beyond my boundaries. And I apologize. I've confused everybody now. Because I'm starting from the bottom of the board is my 0.75, because my 0 is my waste board. And with that, now those models look a little bit more special. Look how clean those look. Good golly, Miss Molly. All right. That's what's happening, Jackson. Okay. That was throwing me off. Because I'm starting at 3/4, 0 is the bottom of my board and the top is 3/4, I have to subtract when I'm wanting to a certain depth. My magic number, my model's Z-plane is 0.4463. And when I started off initially, I set my depth of cut to the 0.4463, which was too much. What I should have done was I should have taken 3/4, subtracted the 0.4463, and that would have given me my depth of cut for my pocket, what it needed to do, the depth it needed to cut to reach the bottom of the models. And now, they look much better. Let's get back into the preview here. They look much, much better. That's, what they're supposed to look like. Okay. Now, onward and upward. I'm okay with the fact that the boundary and everything comes out like this. I guess I'm okay with that. A little bit, somewhat. Let's do our V-carve and let's see how the result looks. So I'm going to select my text. It's going to be a V-carve toolpath. Aren't you guys glad you missed 2 weeks of my classes? Because I always confuse you when I have classes. I'm going to be using a 60-degree V-bit. I'm not going to do a flat depth. I don't think I'll require it. I don't think any part of my design is going to cut through my 3/4 inch material. I should be good to go. So let's go ahead and calculate this with no flat depth. We have no warnings or anything, so we should be able to V-carve that out. And the one thing that I want to do is I want to get rid of all of this up here. Do I want to get rid of all that? Let me see here. Bear with me a second. Let me add some color to it. Let's see what, not that. Goofball. My V-carve. And then my pocket cut. I should be able to add some color to that. The 3D rough. No, I don't want to add color to that. Or the 3D finish. Alright, so the 3 models minus the color discrepancies here, because I can't select everything. The V-carb looks good and all. The duck, I'd like to have him, I'd like to have everything recessed a little bit more, and I'd like to have him up more. So what I'm going to do with him and everything is I'm going to add some base underneath him, and then I'm going to mill down this surface a bit to accommodate for that base. I believe. Maybe not. Let's see here. That was hanging on a wall. That wouldn't be too bad. I got a little bit of 3D cutting inside my Rocky, which I don't want. So what we're going to do is let's make a couple of small changes. Let's grab this guy here. Let's bump him up just a scooch. Let's grab these guys here. Gonna size them down ever so much and then bump them up. My 3D finish cut is going to want to cut into my R over here, and I don't want that. And I do not want bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I do not want alright, I want to delete some things. I'm going to go into node editing, guys. I have to do a little bit of cleanup because I screwed myself up. I want to come in here and I want to cut the vector here at this point. I'm going to come up here to this corner. I'm going to cut the vector at that point. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to select this vector here that I've just cut free, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I'm going to take my extend tool and I'm going to extend back over to this and redraw that rectangle. I'm going to come back into my duck into the modeling tab, and I'm going to recreate his boundary. With that boundary and everything, I'm going to select that vector boundary, and it'll be last. This rectangle here is what I want to select first. I'm going to select this vector boundary last, and then I'm going to trim, clearing inside of that boundary to recreate everything. And now I'm going to come back into my pocket toolpath, and I'm going to select my vectors again. Not my models. And I'm going to recalculate that toolpath. Everything stays the same. I'm just moving things away from the boundaries. And then for the 3D rough and the 3D finish, I'm going to recalculate all of the toolpaths from there. Alright, so if I look at everything, I should be clear. My tool should not cut into my letters anymore. Possibly right here on the deer's foot, but let's go ahead and preview all of those. Oops. Let's stop that preview. Let's reset it from a blank screen and then preview all of them. Okay, so the moral of this story is practice ahead of time so I don't screw you guys up. Okay, with if you were starting at the top of your board, if that was your Z0 touching off, then your cut depth for this pocket, so that you're doing a pocket cut versus a 3D cut, the 3D is only focusing on the 3D models, which reduces our time. Our 3D finish cut by being just on the models. Let me set my times properly here. My 3D finish cut could have been multiple hours, but because I am using just the models, carving just the model areas, going to be about 1 hour and 19 minutes. My pocket cut is about 51 minutes. So that hour 19 and that hour 51, or that 51, that's 2 hours and let's say 9 minutes of runtime on this. Versus if I would have not done a pocket cut, not selected any of my boundaries but this outer boundary here. Let me turn that toolpath off so we can see what we're doing here. Stand by. I'm going to make a copy of this to a new layer. I'm going to turn off layer 1 for a minute. Oh, I'm going to turn that back on because I want to make a copy of this to that new layer as well. I'm going to turn layer 1 off and I'm going to do some trimming. So scissor tools, I want to trim. Oops. Alright, you're gonna be that way. No editing, guys, forgive me, Lord have mercy. My goodness gracious. You son of a... No editing mode. Cut the vector here. Cut it there. That way I can get rid of that. Cut this vector. Cut this vector. had so many duplicates going on there that everything was acting a little bit crazy. Gosh, everything's acting crazy tonight. Alright, I'm going to join these together, and most of them joined fine except for this one here because I have some overlap. And now I have a full boundary all the way around that I can come in and take these guys here that one there, and I'm going to move them to layer the new layer, and I'm going to make that layer invisible. That way I can come in and turn on layer 2, that new boundary I just created. And if I were to do my 3D finish cut using the selected vector as a boundary, that 2 hours and 10 minutes would turn into, let's find out. Woo! My goodness. Oh. Alright, while that's calculating, let's see here. Let's see how bad I screwed up, guys. Roughing depth. Would it have anything to do with the 0.10 gap above the model? It has something to do with that. It's, you know, that's all added into the Z-plane, which is that 0.4463, but mostly it was because I wasn't doing my subtraction, William. And let's see here. If zeroing from the top, 4463 would be the correct number. You're exactly right, David Garbutt. But I was, with my zero being at the bottom, I had to do the math. I had to do the subtraction to get my cut depth. That's what screwed everything up. And William jumps in again and says, the carving between C and K of Rocky looks out of place since there's no lineup separating the C and the K. I'll have to look at that when we redo. So, guys, to combine or to look at or compare our times, that 3D finish cut, if I would have just done a normal 3D finish using that boundary as a vector where my models were, because I don't want to cut into my Rocky Mountains and everything, it would have been 4 hours and 2 minutes. Using the pocket cut and milling down to that depth, ending up at the 0.4463, and then using the 3D finish for just the model areas and everything is a combined total of about 2 hours and 10 minutes. So by doing this, I was able to optimize the toolpath and shave 2 hours of time off of the carve time. And so that's the whole purpose for the pocket cut. And then I screwed up with not doing my math, not remembering that my zero is at the bottom of the material, so I have to do the math. Everything is kind of backwards at that point. All right, now let's get rid of that this 3D finish. Let's delete this. Let's reset this preview, or actually, let's turn off the toolpath and let's look at this. And what William was pointing out is this little cutout right here between the C and K is out of place because there's no line or anything connecting, you know, it together. And the purpose and the reason for that there's no line is because the 1/8 inch end mill that I'm using can't fit in here. If we actually look at the, you know, the toolpath and everything, there is lines connecting that area, but my bit, the diameter of my bit cannot fit into this area. So now I can adjust that if I simply take these nodes and move them over a little, widening that gap and possibly these nodes, widening that gap, and I recalculated the toolpaths more specifically my pocket toolpath, really. The question of the day is did I give myself enough room? Did I move enough for the 1/8 inch end mill to fit in there? No, there's still not enough room for that 1/8 inch end mill to come in here. So let's take and go into node editing. I'm using my arrow keys to move things over. Let's recalculate that pocket toolpath. Still not enough room. So no matter what, William, I'm not going to have enough room to cut that out. So basically, one may say the best thing to do would be to undo everything that I just did and come in here and go into node editing mode and just cut the vector about here, cut it right there, take this and delete that out, and then bring those two ends to a common point of intersection, and then recalculate that. And I was cutting on the wrong one. Let's turn that off and turn that layer back on. Let's do that one more time. Node editing mode. Cut the vector here. Cut the vector here. Get rid of this. And take this and close it up by joining the two endpoints to a common point of intersection, and then coming in and recalculating that toolpath. And we'll re-preview it and we should be done. So that's why I was looking at a place, because the diameter of the bit was too big to get in there. Alright, so what we end up here with is we have 2D vectors in combination with the oh my goodness gracious. So when I recalculated that toolpath, I didn't have my boundaries selected for the animals, so it just ended up milling them away. Now, okay, so let's back up, because I confused the heck out of you guys. Let's back up a second here, because like Dave Garber says, I guess I'm confused. If the 4463 is the correct number, if zeroing from the top, how would you get the correct number? I destroyed a flag this weekend zeroing from the machine bed wasteboard. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a minute. Okay. So if I were to change this out. As a matter of fact, I won't do it here. Let's do it over in the material setup so you can actually see the numbers. So right now, my model zero plane with my material above my board that I'm milling away and stuff, the bottom of my models here, that Z-plane, that's this flat area right in here at the bottom of the models, underneath. That Z-plane is 0.4463, okay? That is the depth of cut from zero, basically. If I were to change this to touch off on the machine surface, my Z-plane would be -3038. So if I was touching off on the surface, my Z-plane, my depth of cut would only need to be 0.3038. Okay? But I'm referencing off the bottom of the material. Okay? And so therefore, I have to take, and I have to, when I calculate, I know my magic number by looking at the material setup is 4463. So when I'm coming in to create a pocket cut, I have to take 0.75 minus 0.4463 equals to get my 0.3037, because that's what that pocket depth is. That's the depth of that pocket. It's the depth of the pocket no matter what. If I'm touching off on the top of the material or touching off on the bottom of the material, my depth of my pocket, my model Z-plane, is 0.3037. 0.3037. But because I am referencing off the bottom of the material, my top of my board is thought of as 3/4 of an inch, 0.75. My model Z-plane from 0 is 0.4463. Going from 0 to 4463 is that 0.3037. So you got to do the maths. 0.75 minus 0.4463 is 0.3037. That's how thick my models are. If we went into our properties, let's select all of our models here, and we go into our properties. If we take our base height and our shape height, and if we add those together, pull a calculator into this mix, 0.2516 plus 0.0757, that's going to give me 0.3273. That's my total thickness, right? 0.3273. On my material setup, I've got a gap above my model of a 0.0259, which gets subtracted from that. And the total depth ends up being 0.3037. And so, let's do that. 0.2516. Let's do that again if I hit the right keys. 2516 plus 0.0757. Okay, this is my shape height. But now I need to subtract my gap above the model. Let's go back into the calculator. Subtract 0.0259 gives me my 0.3014. That is my model thickness here plus this. Now, my depth of cut, because I have all of this, from 3/4 of an inch, if I subtract my Z-plane, And I'm confusing you guys. The Z-plane is the model thickness, 0.2, over here guys, 779 plus 0.0259 0.0259 is that 3038, my 3038, 3037, however you want it to be. All right, that's where that pocket depth number comes, 0.3038. Now, if I subtract my model thickness from my 3/4 of an inch and the gap above the model, that's what gives me that Z-plane number. So my model Z-plane, the bottom of my model, is the sum of the model thickness and the gap above model. That gives me this little brown area down here, my wood, 0.4463. That's what's called the model Z-plane, the bottom of the model. From 0, for me, from 0 to the bottom of the model is 0.4463 inches. Now if I subtract that from 3/4, that's what gives me the 0.3038. If I alternatively change this to the top of the board, everything changes. Now I'm working from the top. 0 is at the top of the board. My model thickness plus the gap above model equals 0.3038. That model Z-plane, 3038. It's the same thing. We're getting the same thing. It's just it's backwards. Or not backwards, but we just have to, we're subtracting from 3/4 of an inch because we're working off the bottom. This is my 0 down here. So from 0 to the bottom of that model, the total depth is 0.4462. And in order for me, since I'm carving from the top and not the bottom, I'm carving from the top down, not the bottom up, in order for me to get to that 0.4462, I have to subtract that number from 3/4, which is the top of my board, and that gives me the depth of cut that I need to go to get to that number, to get to that depth from 0. Does anybody understand that? Or did I just confuse the whole situation? Tell me if you're confused. If you're confused, I won't break it down again, but we'll do the, 0 is either going to be the bottom of your board, which means 3/4 is the top, or 0 is going to be the top of your board and 3/4 is the bottom. If I'm starting from 0 here and I'm cutting down to past my model or the bottom of my model, that's going to be that I'm cutting down to the thickness of my model plus the gap of wood above the model that I put on there, 3038. That's my depth. But if my 0 is down here and 3/4 is up here, in order for me to get to that 3038, I have to subtract the Z-plane, this material, underneath the model. I have to subtract that from that 0.3 or 0.75 to get the 0.3038. So Dave, if you zeroed out from the machine bed and cut a simple V-carved text, what would be the process? I'm touching off on the bottom of the bed. I select the V-carve. Here's the process, Dave. I select the V-carve. I open up the V-carve toolpath. I'm starting at 0 using a 60-degree V-bit I click calculate, because of the fact that your 2D toolpaths are done all automatically. There's no math involved when it comes to that. Okay? I'm creating a pocket. I'm physically creating a pocket in my job, and I want that pocket to be as deep as the bottom of the models. So in order to achieve that, I have to do some math. I have to take 0.75, the top of my board, subtract my model thickness, how thick they are, and the little gap of wood I have above the model that I'm milling away, that's waste wood, in order to obtain that number, that magic number, that 0.3037, 3038, one versus the other. Okay? With a V-carve and everything, your start depth is 0. You're using your bit, you calculate. It's going to do all the math automatically for you. Okay? We're talking, I'm physically wanting to create a pocket, because the pocket toolpath, I have to specify the depth. Profile tool cuts and pocket tool cuts, I have to specify the depth. And in order for me to do that, I have to do the math. I'm either cutting down to 0.3037 from 0, right? Or I'm cutting down 0.3037, from the 0.75. I'm still cutting from the top of my board down. Okay. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Alright, let's see what we ended up with here. Let's go into... Let's delete this. Preview all those toolpaths, and then we can talk about some things. Now, let that finish carving. Carve. Now, what did I do wrong here? Let's look and see what we did. Look at the Rocky. You see, there's something. There's more than meets the eye. There are 2 3D finish cuts here, so we need to get rid of that one in the demonstration. We need to reset our preview, and let's preview all those one more time. I had 2 3D cuts with 2 different boundaries selected, and it was wanting to mill away those items, which was a no-no. All right. Now, what would it look like if I carved the pocket away only around the front part of this duck and everything, and I did not carve the pocket away here? And what if I wanted that, that kind of look where the actual duck was sitting on top of everything else, on top of the wood, and the deer, the tree, and everything were recessed into the pocket? And I didn't want to do all the pocket behind the duck, and I don't want him cut down into the wood like this. I want him sitting on top of everything. Okay. Well, the first thing that, I would need to do is, because I have, I'm working with 2D and I'm working with 3D and everything, and I have to understand that when I'm milling a 3D model, that I'm going to have to, if I want this model raised up, that I'm going to have to mill the surface down, to that, the depth of this model here, the depth of this guy here. So if I come in and I get rid of, and have this, I'm going to offset this a little bit, and what I'm going to do in order to offset that is I'm going to cut the vector. I don't want it right up on this guy here. I want to offset it a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the vector here, and then on the back side I'm going to cut the vector, and what that does is that releases this boundary from everything. Now I can offset this boundary outward, get it away from the duck a bit, and let's see what 1/8 of an inch does. I'm going to delete the original. Oops. I went inward. I want to go outward. I want to go away from it. Okay. Still not far enough out. I want to go even more. So I'm going to go, let's double it up. Good enough. With this, I'm going to do some trimming. Chimney. Alright, so I'm going to got that boundary there. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to extend. And do I want to extend that out? No, I'm actually going to cut the vector. I want to kind of come straight up here. So I'm going to cut the vector. I don't know why I right-clicked. I want to right-click now and cut the vector. I want to get rid of that. I'm going to right here. Cut the vector, get rid of this. Gonna cut this vector right straight down and get rid of this. And I'm gonna join these two with a smooth curve. I'm gonna take this vector here and I'm going to extend him in his natural path. Up to here, and I'm going to trim away that. And so now if I come in with my pocket cut and everything, now some things are going to change. Okay, I'm working with two different models, sets of models. One set of models is going to be at one depth. The other set of models are going to be at another depth. And what we're going to do is we're going to create two completely different 3D rough or 3D finish toolpaths, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off level 1. Okay, we're going to get rid of all those models just for a moment. And on this model here, with him just on, if I come over and I take a look at my model Z-plane, what we were talking about a moment ago, okay, my model, nothing's changed with my model Z-plane because my duck was always the biggest model, so it's always going to be at that depth. But if I reduce some of the material, That's going to change it somewhat. So this is my number that I'm shooting for. Remember, I have to do the math from 3/4, but this is the number that I'm going to be subtracting from that 3/4. So if I come in here, I'm going to create a make sure that I'm good. 0.01 is still there. Excellent. I'm going to create a completely separate 3D finish cut. This time I'm going to use the material as the boundary. I'm going to use the model as a boundary because this is the only 3D part of the design. But I am going to be milling all of this material down to the bottom of that model. I'm going to be using a pocketing toolpath. But why have the 3D model cut do all of that stuff, you know? So I'm going to use the model as a boundary, and I'm going to let it overlap, let it come off by 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to let my bit come past that model by that much, 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to calculate that 3D toolpath. Okay, let's reset our preview here. Now, I'm not going to preview that yet. Now I'm going to come in and I've got to create my rectangular border, which was probably already there from the last time. I believe it was. I think now I have two. Let me delete that and see. Yeah, I had one already there. Now if I select that and this model here, and I come in and create my pocket cut now, and I'm just going to use the old pocket cut with these two boundaries selected. Now I need to, again, I gotta do my math. So 0.4884 is the number that I'm subtracting from 3/4. So on my pocket cut, .75 minus 0.4884 equals, that's going to be my depth of cut. I'm going to calculate that toolpath, and I'm going to actually use a bigger end mill this time. There's no sense in using a smaller one. End mill 1/4 of an inch is fine. Probably could go with a 1/2 inch. Yeah, I'm going to go with a 1/2 inch end mill to reduce time, and because I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch end mill, I'm going to let my 3D finish cut bit go beyond the model more, because that 1/2 inch end mill won't be able to fit in between these feathers. So I'm going to let the 3D finish bit go in there and do all that cleaning out. So I'll use my 1/2 inch end mill. I want to run my 1/2 inch end mill about 55 inches a minute. Plunging 30 is fine. Past depth, I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to calculate that. Turn that off. And if we preview that toolpath, now I want someone to, before it finishes carving, tell me the mistake that I made. What mistake did I make with as far as my pocket boundaries? How would you increase the profile just around the duck feathers? Jerry, how about you increase the profile just around the duck feathers? Could do that. Now, what my mistake was with this is my boundary here, my router bit is only going up to this boundary right here. And the router bit, is leaving all that skin of wood on there. So what I want to do with this real quick is I want to offset outward just a 1/16 of an inch. Deleting the original sharp corners I want. Let's go a little bit more, 0.08. And I want to recalculate that toolpath so that my bit can cut out behind that. Now, very good, Jerry. Jerry says, how would you increase the profile just around the duck feathers? You would cut the nodes just around the duck feathers. How would I increase it? You would cut the vector at whatever point that you wanted to cut it. Let's say that, I cut the vector here and here, and then I would offset those outward particular distance to something to that effect, and then I would reattach these. I would blend this in to where it kind of feathers up to this point, or I would move these points in I would move these points in or something where they feathered into that line somehow or another. But that's pretty much how you would increase those around there. Alright, let's make sure I got a closed vector. I do. Alright, so now let's look at what I've done here, and let's preview the 3D finish cut. Okay, now let's take my Rocky manner, and I'm going to create a V-carve toolpath. But I'm starting at 0, but this time I need to project that toolpath down to the 0 plane, that Z plane, that model Z plane, that new plane here. So project the toolpath onto the 3D model. Now my 1/2 inch end mill couldn't get into the model areas and things right here. You see how that doesn't look very clean around those toes and stuff. So let's go back into that 3D finish a bit, and let's let it kind of go out, a good ways. Let it recalculate that. Okay, got a little bit of material here that my 1/2 inch end mill couldn't fit in here, so I could use a smaller end mill to clean up that area if I wanted to. I'm going to be using an 1/8 inch end mill in here, so I'll probably end up just drawing a vector around this and having that 1/8 inch end mill come over here and do a little cutting. Or I could just make this come out a little bit further away and recalculate that that pocket toolpath. Either or. And if I did that, then it should be out far enough now that it would allow that bit
to fit in between the back wing and the edge of the board to clean up that little scrap piece of material. All right, so now I've got this. Now I'm going to cut my pocket, my recess in here for the other model. So this is one job. So let me move everything together that belongs together. And let me delete these three here. Delete, delete, delete. There we go. All right, so these three toolpaths here, this is this design, but now I want to create my pocket cut and the model cut for this. So what I got to do is go back into my modeling tools, turn the duck model off so it's not part of the calculation, turn my other models back on, okay, and that way all you see is this here. The duck is gone for a minute. I've already got his toolpath created, so he doesn't need to be on right now. Now if I look at my model and everything, I don't want my model right at the top because then it'll be at the the same height as the ducks. I want them kind of recessed a little bit, okay? So I want them kind of sitting back a little bit. So now I'm going to take my visible models. Remember, the duck is turned off and his toolpaths are already created. They're done. Now I'm going to take my visible model and I'm going to bring it down a bit. I'm going to probably bring it down about 0.15. Okay. All this material is going to get pocketed out down to here. Now I need to make sure that I have, because I just milled off a whole bunch of material, right? I need to make sure I have enough wood. My 3/4 inch thick may not be thick enough for this type of design. I may need a 1 inch board or 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 or something, but we'll find out here in about 3 seconds because it'll tell me. And so I'm going to go with a 0.15 gap above the model. All that's going to be gone because I want these models, I want them recessed back a bit. A certain amount. So we're going, now this is my number here. Model Z plane is 0.3471. Okay. Now when I click OK, it's going to ask me if I want to recalculate the toolpaths. No, I do not. No, I do not. I'm creating two separate projects within one in a sense. So I'm going to say no. I want them to remain as they are. I'm going to come in here now and I'm going to select my boundaries. And I'm going to create that pocket toolpath. It's a new one, not this one. We're not overwriting that one. That's a different pocket. We're going to create a pocket toolpath. And again, we're going to go 0.75 minus 0.3471 minus 0.3471 equals, okay, that's going to be my depth of cut for this pocket. Okay, that's how deep it has to go to get to that. All right, because our zero's been milled away and all. So let's find out. I got to change back to my 1/8 inch end mill. Let's find out if I've milled too much material away. Let's calculate. Oh, actually, I'm an idiot. I actually have to do a little bit of additional math. No, I don't. I put it into I put it in here. I put that additional depth in there. So that is my number. Goody, goody, gun drops. Okay. So, that's my pocket cut. Where is it at? There's my pocket cut. Okay. So I got a little bit of a recess going on there. All right, now 3D finish cut with those models active. Okay, we're creating a whole new 3D finish cut. This time we are using the models as the boundary. Okay, models is the boundary, and we're gonna let it go past the boundary. You know, that's a 16th inch mil. I'll let it go past the boundary only a small amount because I don't want it going into the rocky. I don't want it going, you know, so I'm gonna let it go about 20 thousandths of an inch past. It should be enough to give me a nice clean cut with that small tip bit. If I have room, I'll look and see if I have room to go more. I just don't want to cut into this boundary here. If I let it go too far beyond the boundary, then I'm starting to cut down into this. I might even have enough to go, you know, 0.04. So with that, my model is the boundary. I'm going to calculate this toolpath. Preview that. Now, look what happened here. So you see the top of the deer is cut off and everything, right? The top of the deer is cut off. So on this pocket cut, I didn't, you know, trying to figure out where my mistake was. Model is a boundary. Good, good, good. Top pocket toolpath with the duck. Thanks, David. Okay, so that's the pocket cut. There's my 3D finish. That's all correct. My top pocket cut yep. Good catch, Dennis. Good catch. Let me stop that. even though it's two separate models and everything on that top pocket cut, I still need these boundaries selected. I still need these areas protected. Good catch on that one, Dennis.
Good catch on that one.
Yep. I have to protect that area from that bit. You know, I have to protect it. And so I still, even though it's two separate kind of designs in a sense, you know, where the deer are, you know, recessed down and everything, I still have to protect them so the end mill doesn't mill it away. And what this gives me by doing this is it gives me a look of two different levels, you know, two different goings on, should I say, and therefore I could, ooh, what in the world? Let's see, what's that one? That pocket right there, would be kind of a brown. You know? And if I wanted to, now here's the important part. If I wanted to, let's say I wanted to put some text up here or something down into this pocket, I'm projecting. So let's say, you know, I wanted, like I have this nice empty space here, I would probably fill it with some mountains or something or what have you, like 3D models if I had them handy and all. But let's say that we wanted like a established 2000 whatever. Let's come in here and let's create a real quick text box and then we're done. Text. And let's go EST period 1848. Alright, now I could V-carve that in, or I could have it as raised text, either one, however I want to do it. Depends on how many elements I want to give the design. The first one I will do is V-carve it, so I will V-carve the text in here, but I have to project onto the 3D model because I want it, it needs to project down to the bottom pocket area here. From 0, so it's got to calculate, it's got to project down there so that we get that, you know, that carving. Or, you know, this might say welcome to Rocky Manor, right? What if I wanted it to say welcome to Rocky Manor and I wanted the text raised here? I still wanted this pocket cut around it kind of deal, but I wanted the text raised here versus be carved in. You know, give it that two different elements and all. Well, I love the text tool. We're just going to come in here and we'll type in welcome. Big old space between that E and W. Let's get rid of that. All right, welcome. to the now I got to be careful how I do my text and everything. I got to make sure my bit, whatever router bit that I'm using, my 1/8 inch end mill and all can fit in, you know, in these areas and stuff, you know, and all, because my pocket is cutting, you know, here. So wherever I place this, you know, I want to make sure that, you know, my bit can get around there and all. All right, so now I'm going to create, ouch. I'm going to just create, really, I mean, I don't have to do anything special. I just have to create some kind of boundary around it. So I could come in here and create a boundary. Doesn't even have to be anything special. Let's bring this over a little bit. All right, let's trim up that. Okay, all I'm doing is protecting that. Now let's go in and let's go through our toolpath. So on our pocket, the very first pocket toolpath, we've got to add in this boundary. We need to protect it from getting carved away and everything, and then we got to protect this amount of wood, this area here. So very simply, just add it to the toolpath and hit calculate. Get that done. All right, so that way now we have this opening. Dennis, when carving like this, where would you put your XY0 so you can get your bits at the right spot in the bit change? I'm working off the bottom left corner because I'm using my wedge jig, and I'm also using my DWC quickset tool for the bottom left corner, because my wedge jig has a 90-degree bottom left corner. So that's where I would set my X and Y. I would not set it off center or anything on a job like this. Okay. All right. So now one of the compromises I may have to make, because now I've got, you know, some smaller areas and things that you know, I want my I want to make sure my bits can get in there and everything. I may have to use a smaller bit and all, but I want to stick with my 1/2 inch end mill. I want to try to make it as quick as possible. Now for the Rocky Manor V-carve, that's good there. This pocket toolpath, we need to add in this vector again to protect it. Calculate. Okay, so that way when we preview, let's get caught up to this point. Preview the selected visible toolpaths. Let's caught up. But yeah, Dennis, I would work off the bottom left corner. I would not work off the center on a project like this, because there's going to be different levels of things happening, and you know, the whole surface is getting milled away for that. Now the 3D finish cut. The 3D finish cut, I'm letting that bit go beyond the vector by 0.04. So that should be enough, meaning if we come in here and preview that selected toolpath, that should get my trees, rabbit, and everything all done. Now my bit, my 3D finish cut and everything didn't quite get, you know, between the legs and things of here, and that's because this deer's legs go in between it, and my bit couldn't fit in there to kind of remove it. So that's fine. That's okay. That's all right. Not a problem. That's good. All right, my ball nose bit wasn't big enough to, small enough to get into the detail areas there. All right, so now I've got to add in my new text, and I'm going to do a flat depth. What is my flat depth going to be? What's that magic number? Well, it's the same number as the pocket cut here. So if I go up to this pocket cut and look at my depth of cut, it's 0.4029. 0.4029. So if I come in here and 0.4029, I am going to use a little flat area clearance, so a little 1/8 inch end mill. And I am going to let that end mill go beyond. Let me see if I have an allowance. No, I don't have an allowance on that, so that's fine. No need for it. Let's add in the word to and the. And let's calculate. Let's add in the border. Got to add in that border. Let's calculate that toolpath. All right, let's preview that selected toolpath. Oops. What we don't want to do is we do not want to project, because we are actually starting from the top of the border. We've been protecting that whole piece. So we do not want to project. So we're going to calculate that toolpath. Let's reset everything and preview all the toolpaths one final time, and we should be done. Now, to make this, it could be anything, but to make it more elaborate and all, like imagine if this was a farm, right? A farm sign or something. You had a log cabin, horses, trees and stuff, and you wanted the horse, maybe you run a stables or a farm or something, and you want a horse and stuff to, and I'm going to show you how to get rid of that pocket here in a minute. You want that horse sitting where the duck is, up on top of everything, and then all the little barn and the trees and the chickens and stuff in the background, whatever this case may be, you want to do. Now, this border here, the amount of wood that's being left from, because of the angle of the V bit and everything, there was still a block of wood there, so it was leaving this angle. So what we do is we let that end mill and everything. We can't do an allowance. So what we have to do is we got to kind of get into our cut a little bit more. This vector would be true for all the other toolpaths, but we're going to create a duplicate. We're going to copy and we're going to paste. And on that pasted copy, we're going to come out just a little bit. Don't hit the rabbit in the ears. We're going to come out down a little bit. And we're trying to get the angle. We're at least trying to go the distance of the angle of our V bit, depending on the depth of cut that we're doing and the angle of that cut and all. So now I'm going to take and go into node edit mode. I'm going to smooth this point and basically kind of bring it down and around, come down and around. Let that come over there. I'm going to smooth this one out. Bring this out a little bit. Alright, that's going to be my boundary line for this guy. And let's turn him off. Oops, I almost screwed up. Don't do what I was about to do. I want that pocket cut, but I don't want to hit my letters and all. So bear with me a second while I offset those outward. Little more. 0.1. Good enough. Alright. So let's open that pocket back up. Select. Got a little bit of debris. Where all these lines are overlapping, so bear with me a second. Let's select that and weld. Oh, won't let me weld, so let's trim that. Over here, we really don't need oh, don't do that. I'm overcomplicating this, but I don't need all of this stuff in here. I just need to protect around the letters. I don't need this in here. I don't need this in here. I don't need that. I don't need that. And last but not least, join that with a straight line. Okay. Alright, let's recalculate this toolpath. One open vector. Where's my open vector? Got an open vector, guys. Alright, open vector. He is open. Let's see if we can join them. Nope. Alright, let's find out where our opening is. Validate the vector, search it, so it'll tell me where the issue is. I got an overlap right here, and that's what that vector validator is awesome for. So there's an overlap here, and all I have to do is, you know, break that up and then join with a straight head. where I screwed up. Uh-oh. Hold on a minute, guys. Alright guys, hopefully I'm back. I don't know what in the world happened. You guys lost me a minute. I lost you. I thought they shut me down for talking too much. You didn't miss anything. I was sitting here just previewing all the toolpaths, making sure everything was correct. It looks to be correct. Everything's shut down, but let me know if I'm back with you and you can hear me and stuff. Okay. Man, that was crazy. Okay, we're almost done. So what I had to do was, because we're working with two different levels and we're starting from 0 at one point, or down 1/8 of an inch, for the other models and things. For this raised text, it's kind of it's basically the essentially both worlds here. And if we look at this at the side, the tilt, you can see when that first pocket cut got cut, it didn't include this area here. And I actually want it to. Include that area. So this first pocket cut here, this vector gets taken out of the equation. Okay? And we then, if we preview that, that cuts that level down. And I didn't include it in and left all that material up there, but I, not thinking that, hey, we are, that gives me this, area here. That's going to be my raised text, and the raised text was up way too high originally. Now, on that cut, because I'm working here and I'm cutting down to essentially this is my 0, but the software doesn't look at it as 0. It looks at it as this depth here is 0.4884 from I've got to project that toolpath, not project it down, but I've got to start down here and then end up 0.784 equals 2616. Now I have a, from there I need to a flat depth of here down where the rest of the models are. And so if I basically let me write this down because I'm going to have to do it again. 0.2616. If I close this real quick and go back into my little 3471. Alright, open this up. 0.2616. And then here, that model Z plane, if I come in and 0.75 minus 0.3471 equals, so I want to go here to here. If I'm starting here, I want to end up, this is the number I want to end up on, but in order to end up that number, I'm already down here this far now. I'm not starting from 0.3 from 3/4. I'm not starting way up there. So if I would have been smart, I would have said 0.4884, where I'm starting from, minus 0.3471, my current Z plane. That gives me, I want to start here and end up here. That's my cut depth. So if I calculate this toolpath and we preview that visible toolpath, okay, that gives me my raised text. Now I need to get rid of this lip, that border that's around there and everything. So I'm just going to use these boundaries to help me out, and I'm just going to cut and kind of trim away, in those areas, in those boundary areas with an 1/8 inch end mill. That's my pocket cut. My pocket cut, and that is going to be 0.4029, which is fine, or I could just save some time. We're starting from 0.2616, the same depth that we're starting from. And then if I go 0.4884 minus 0.3471, my current Z plane, that's my depth of cut. I can calculate that toolpath, and that toolpath should cut around all that area and all, and get rid of that lip. And if I came in and gave it a matching color as the rest, and gave this a matching color as the rest, gave this a matching color as the rest, I should end up with a sign that would look something like this. Or if I turn off all the colors, I'd end up with a sign that looks like that. So basically, knowing knowing that what am I trying to say here? And you see there's a little bit of a lip right there that we have to get rid of. That pocket, that lip right there to clean that up and stuff. If we look at this here, this boundary here on that pocket cut, you know, there's still material up underneath this. So what I can do is on these two things here, what do I want to do with that? What do I want to do with that? My V cut, my flat end mill. So that's this toolpath. That toolpath, the flat end mill is not wide enough. That 1/8 inch end mill can't get in here. So in order to make that happen, is all I have to do is come in here and just give myself a little bit more room. If I go into node editing, I can take this node and this node and just move down a little bit. That should be enough. And oops, that should be enough. And if I recalculate that toolpath, that should clean up that area, which it does. All right, so basic. Stand by. Alright, I had to turn everything off. We were buffering really bad, so it's kind of the end of the game here, so we're done. But what I wanted to say was, basically we have our duck model that was on one level, and we created the toolpath for that to get that raised on the top of the board. Once we did that, we then turned that model off so it's no longer part of the equation. We turn our other models on because they're going to be cut deeper into the wood and everything. And now when we create the 3D finish on those active models, it's only looking at them. The duck, it doesn't even see the duck in the toolpath and everything. And when we turn those on, we have to come in and change our setup. And so on the setup, I changed how much material was above the model because I want the other models, those deer and the trees and all, to be recessed down further. In this case, we went, 0.1512 or 125, 1/8 of an inch, however you want to do it. But so now we just changed the level completely. And we calculate those toolpaths. So we had our first toolpaths, the mountains, the V-carved text, and the duck. All that was done. We essentially switched up and turned off the visible model of the duck, turned on the other models, and we went in and said,
okay, on these models, we want the gap above those models to be this depth. And that lowers them down. That makes them carve on a different level. Knowing that we were going to create that pocket cut in the design anyway to, open it up and have it look like it's kind of just set back. And so we are mixing and matching to carve, those different depths to get some different elements. And then we create borders around some text inside that pocket area so we get the raised letters. So now we have a combination of raised letters inside of our recessed area. We've got our V carve on our flat area. And it creates, just a nice all around look for the project. And I don't know, just gives it a whole nother element, just something to think about. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what I wanted to, we really didn't get to talk about the features and all, but some of the features, are your photo editing and your crop. We did get to use the crop tool and all, but what I'll do is, Vectric did a good job of showing the differences in the software and stuff. But what I will do is next week's class we won't do a project because this one did take a little bit longer than I thought. We won't really do a project, but we'll do a discussion. We'll do a Q&A, and we will talk about the differences in the new V9 software and how those differences are going to help us. Hopefully, by that time, by when Monday comes around, I'll have you guys out the post processor, and we can talk about that as well. The post processor that's going to be accompanying all this new updates and stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this project, and even though there was some confusion, hopefully you picked up something in all of this. And I will do better. I promise I will do better next time to not make it so confusing. I'll have to do some homework and stuff before so I don't screw up on math and all that. And don't forget stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.